All right, David, thank you for joining us. And the topic, what matters most, enlightenment, success, or to simply be a good person. And a few of us have got commandments from the previous time. Shall we start with that?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. Shan's got a comprehensive list of more than 10, actually. She didn't even stick to the rules. No, I mean, she actually was outside the rules, I should say, which is a great thing, as you were saying.
But did I make a rule of it being 10?
No, but I was wrong. I mentioned to you, Shan had done 10, and then you said, and I said, no, actually, that was my mistake.
Yeah.
It was 10.
Yeah, my list is probably 20, 30, who knows? I don't know how long it goes, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, basically, I think the Bible of this religion is just a collection of commandments or rules to live by, basically. I think much better than a whole fictional story of the way the world was created and, you know, and who slept with who. Have you ever read the Old Testament? It's hilarious. It's like a soap opera of who slept with who and who had what child and who did this to that. And it's like, it's really bizarre. It's like, is this really necessary? So I think what we need is a collection of ways to live, rules to live by, rather than it's a good God or an evil God and who created the world and the universe. And, you know, it's like Swami Anananda always saying. He is saying, everyone come to me asking about past life, future life, this life, that life. I said, when you can handle this life now, then we talk about past one, future one. Until you can do this one correctly, why you worry about past one? Right? So we take care of this one. So then we know about the other one.
Yeah, I think I recall you saying at some point, you know, there's no point in discussing certain topics until, or even a person's not even capable of understanding certain topics until their life is really stable and happy, until they've got that kind of basis to build on, instead of, squabbling about issues, like you mentioned, soap opera type issues, always moaning about this or that, or being tossed and turned with these things.
Yeah, because then what does it become? What is a Bible study? If you're studying this, who slept with who and what happened here and there, you get together to talk about these things. These things you're not capable of comprehending, or they're actually irrelevant in your life. So why is this a good thing to do? Because it's like going to a movie. It takes my mind off of myself, my life, my troubles, my failures, and I can talk about something else that I can say, it's a good thing. It's a Bible, it's a religion, it's a God, so I'm not wasting my time going to movies. But all it is a distraction from me looking at myself. So really, it isn't actually improving your being. I'm much more interested in let's sit down and talk about ourselves and my life and what am I becoming? What am I? What was I? What will I be in my human sense? Okay? I can believe in reincarnation and prove reincarnation is totally false all at the same time. Right? Reincarnation says that you continue life after life after life, right? Okay. So maybe that's true, but you don't continue. Andy, Crystal, Kathy, Simon, none of you actually, and me too, we don't continue. We die. So therefore, reincarnation could be true, that something continues, but it is false because you only live this one life as you are, because you don't get reborn. Andy, Kathy, Simon don't get reborn. You don't come back. So you only have one life. Then you die and that's it. So this is true. So I'm interested in this one life you're living right now. Who are you now? That's the only thing you should be interested in. Forget the afterlife. Forget the before life. Just this life. And then you have something of substance you can work with, you know, that your mind can relate to. So our commandments, rules to live by, whatever we want to call them, are basically saying, I only have one life to live. Forget the reincarnation stuff. I can't comprehend it. It's only a distraction and an excuse. Karma, all of this. What can I do now? So that when I go to sleep every night, I sleep right away, and I sleep well until I wake up in the morning. And when I wake up in the morning, is my first thought, oh boy, it's another day? Or is my first thought, oh fuck, it's another day? Okay? That's basically our goal in life, is what is your first thought when you wake up in the morning? How's that? My purpose in life is to make sure that every day when I wake up, it's, oh boy, it's another day. Wow, that's, okay, well, there you go. There's something about our new religion. Okay, now you get to talk.
Let's make a note. Do you want to share your
You could.
I didn't make a note of what David just said.
I wrote mine.
Yeah, I did get your email, Kathy, but I'm sorry, I've been so extremely busy. I haven't had time to look at emails,
Okay.
a lot of things.
I'm sure it'll be the same as what the others have said.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'll just read a few. I won't read all. I have 12. I guess the first one was take 100% responsibility for everything, including your emotions, thoughts, words, and behaviour. 2, I had it is what it is. Keep objective reality of everything. Nothing is either good or bad. It depends solely on your perception. Look for the third edge of the coin. And then 3, I had accept what is as it is, then decide what to do about it. What you resist persists.
Say that last line again.
What you resist persists.
Yeah, okay. Mm-hmm.
And then I had 4, at the end of the day, ask yourself the 5 questions to constantly improve yourself.
That's good.
And then I had the look for the cause, for the cause, for the cause.
Good.
Why am I procrastinating here? Yeah, where does behavior help me in the past? Why is it not so helpful for me now? And then the other one that you mentioned, there can be no argument when you fully understand the other person, therefore seek to understand before being understood.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're just few.
Okay, they're very nice. The only one about the cause of the cause, when you're looking for the cause of the cause, it shouldn't be about you only. It should be about anything.
Yeah.
So you can make it a moment-to-moment exercise, because you break up a little bit. I don't get every single word, so forgive me if you did say this. But the cause of the cause for anything. So this is an exercise to do when you are wasting time, when you are passing time. So you're standing in line at the post office. You're sitting at a red light. All of these moments through your day to which you have absolutely nothing to do at the moment because you've got to wait. I can't start doing something because in a moment it'll be my turn at the post office, or the light will turn green or something like that. In those moments, you can just look around and see something and say, what made that happen? What made that happen? What made that happen? It could be about the weather. It could be about a car, a dog walking down the street, anything. All right? So the look for the cause of the cause of the cause is something to do for everything you see, and very useful, filling up those gaps which you currently just waste in your life. Now, you know, the most precious thing in the universe beyond anything is time. Because whatever it is that is lost exists somewhere and has the potential to be found. But time, once that's gone, it's gone forever. And I learned a very nice thing from the Sufi in Istanbul. He said there is only one sin God cannot forgive. God can forgive murder, adultery, anything he can forgive. But the one he cannot forgive is the wasting of time. Because even God will not turn back the clock. Okay. So those moments that you are doing nothing and have to pass, use that to randomly look for the cause of the cause of the cause, because that exercise you can stop at any moment. That's what's beautiful about it. You can do it and then stop doing it and then go pay attention to whatever you have to do next, you know? So with that one, the cause of the cause thing, say, and I will do this exercise at every single moment that I have to spare about any random thing. Okay, add that to that rule to live by.
What are the causes we're looking for? The causes of what? Just random things happening around us, or our thoughts? Or
Anything. What happened before that to make that happen?
So like if a kid starts screaming, try to look at what made the kid scream, or...
Yeah. Okay. What made the kid scream? Why does the kid scream? Why is the kid having a temper tantrum? Because he can't get an ice cream. No, that's not it. That's not really what causes the kid to scream. Because some kids will quietly ask for an ice cream. Some kids will peacefully accept they cannot have an ice cream. But this kid is screaming in a temper tantrum because he doesn't have an ice cream. What makes that kid act that way? Right? So, yeah, everything has something that made it happen. And normally, you stop at the surface. You stop at the obvious. But we cannot do that and actually evolve as a human being, because that means your mind is stagnated at the surface level of things. Okay? So then you're just a human animal, surface level. Eat, sleep, shit. That's it. Okay. So you have to train your mind so that it automatically functions to look for what is invisible. Right? One example is with the photo machines, when I had my 1 hour photo stores. So these are big machines, they're very complex machines, a lot of moving parts, but there's a big rack. It's about 3 feet long, and it goes into a vat of chemical, and the paper goes through this rack, in and out, up and down, rack after rack after rack, as it gets processed, okay, to become a picture. All right. So the paper gets stuck, and it's a big machine. I have to know where the paper got stuck in order to know what the problem is so I can fix the machine. But how do I do that? It's an enclosed machine with very long racks that are immersed in a chemical. So I've got to use some extra process beyond pure intellect to figure out where the paper got stuck and why. And very often it has to do with a totally different part of the machine. Okay? So this is a function of intuition. Okay? So to develop this function of intuition, you have to train your mind to see things beyond the surface. So you go within the machine, not just the outer casing of the machine, in this analogy, right? So this process of always looking for beyond the surface explanation trains your mind to always be looking for what you cannot see with your 5 senses. There's a saying, when the need arises, the solution appears. So what we're doing is, we are, through this exercise, creating a need for our intuition to access knowledge that our 5 physical senses cannot see. And so you create the need to develop your now latent or very rarely functioning capacity of intuition, which is effectively your organ of perception of things of a spiritual nature. As Napoleon Hill puts it in Think and Grow Rich, infinite intelligence. As the New Ages like to call it, the Akashic, what is it, Kathy? Akashic records?
Yeah, I guess so.
How do you pronounce it?
One of them.
Ashkakik or something, right?
Yeah.
Ashkakik, something like that. So this is supposedly the records of everything that has ever happened or ever will happen. Universal library. Doesn't really matter what you call it. The fact is, all knowledge is there. All information is there. You're just too thick to see it because you're only using your physical eyes. You got a not third eye as if some eye is going to open and the red dot lights up, huh? No. But intuition is there and you have the capacity, but you've never actually needed it. You've never actually demanded it to function. And this exercise creates the need to wake it up. Okay? So every rule that we put into our religion has to have a useful purpose. And that useful purpose is to remove negative and limiting aspects of our personality. And the second aspect is to activate sixth sense, intuition, the capacities that make a human being truly different than any other animal on earth. All right? So if you take those two conditions, and for every rule that you create or want to live by, so it has to fulfill one of those two conditions, then you will actually make a very useful set of commandments to live by. Because then you will alter your being very quickly. All right? So what's the next one?
Just trying to process that last sentence. I didn't quite get the last sentence.
Yeah, do you mind, David? Can you? I know we're
Okay.
recording, but
So, two things that we need to do.
Yeah.
The first is to remove and correct all of our defects in our personality, which are fixed opinions, selfishness, self-centeredness, fears, limitations, living by other people's rules, meaning our religion, our parents, and so on. You know, the most recent article I put up is how, people who live by our parents' rules, religion rules, things like that, they are outdated. All right? So those are dinosaurs. They're going to become extinct. The world is totally different. Look back 20 years. Simon, Kathy, you're old enough to understand this. Sorry, guys. We're about the same age. Do you remember 30 years ago? If somebody gave you an iPhone today, and they gave it to you 30 years ago, what is this thing? You got to be kidding me, right? So the world is so different. Indian caste system, thousands of years, in the last 10 years, broken down. There's a middle class in India. No such thing for thousands of years, okay? Look at the pyramids. 5,000 years, they say, that's 5,000 years old. They're falling apart now. Why? Pollution from the cars, acid rain. So there are a lot of things, and it would do you good to look at things in our world that have existed consistently for thousands of years that are no longer valid. Because our world has changed now. Look at the Arab Spring, the revolution in the Arab world. Look at, in the fields. It was so funny. In Cambodia and Vietnam, you see these old ladies hunched over picking rice in the rice fields by hand, stopping to do texting on their smartphone. The world is totally different now. And at the rate it's changed in the last 20 years, technology speeds up every year. I mean, the rate of change increases exponentially year after year. So our world is totally different. So we have to see all of these fixed opinions that we live by, which are based on previous generations, antiquated rules that no longer apply in today's world, living in today's world as it is, and choose which of those traditions are still good and valid to keep, and which ones must be let go. Look, there's something called common law marriage. You have it in New Zealand. Some countries have it, some countries don't. Why is there common law marriage, which basically says if you're in a relationship for more than 2 years, you are now legally deemed married in relation to property and assets and so on? It's because people don't get married anymore. They don't need to. All right? They're having kids, they're living together, but they don't need to marry. It's not necessary. It's a problem. You're a different religion, it makes an issue. I'm not talking about you. I'm talking about my cousin, okay? He's Jewish. We're Iraqi, basically, but we're Jews. And his wife was Chinese, and I don't know what her religion was. It was a problem to get married. So they didn't get married. They lived together. They had 2 children. No issue, no problems. And it made splitting up much easier. Because they didn't have to get divorced.
Demoralizing.
So they, they can have their life in harmony, but now back to their own lives. Yeah. So a lot of things that we live by. So we have to look at, what do I live with? So back to the point is, our commandments are based on things that will help me evolve from the dinosaurs that are going to become extinct and have a new open mind that is adapting and is ready to continually adapt to a very fast changing world. Okay? The internet has changed everything. And yeah, it's on. Look at lifespan. I referred to that in the article. 100 years ago, globally, average lifespan is 30 years. Today is over 70. There's some major changes going on here in our world, and they're not all bad. Well, maybe that is bad because now we're too overpopulated. But, so, anything that will help me break past fixed opinions and conditioning. Commandments have to serve that purpose. Second purpose is, they have to help me develop and activate the latent qualities which make me as a human being different from any other animal. All right? Because every other animal is ruled entirely by instincts. What they will eat is, like, for example, and I remember seeing this, a polar bear. It was about a polar bear, but it sets the example. An animal can only eat what its instinct tells it to eat, right? So if a lion cannot catch any meat to eat, it will not start eating vegetables, even though they're in great abundance, in order to survive. Likewise, if there's no leaves for an elephant to eat, it's not...
We just had a motorbike and it cancelled you out. The bit about the elephant, just up.
Okay? And an elephant, if it cannot find any leaves to eat, will not start eating meat in order to survive. Okay? Those animals will die because they cannot get the food that instinct says, this is what you will eat. Okay? A human being is not like that. We adapt. We will find a way to survive. So, our commandments on the positive side are not just to make us survive. They are there to stop us from merely surviving, but to help us to evolve by activating those things within us which make us different than animals. In other words, that thing which makes us able to go beyond the limitations of animal instincts alone. And that is intuition. Because intuition is basically that capacity within the human being which allows it to be creative, which allows it to discover ways to extend the lifespan from 30 to 70 years. It means to travel to Mars. Not that that's a good thing because we're going to go ruin another planet perhaps, but it allows us the capacity to invent these things. Self-driving cars, a wonderful thing because humans are certainly dangerous behind a wheel. So, intuition, and then it allows us the most important thing. And this is the one we want, not necessarily to invent new technologies, but this is the one we really want to get. It allows us to communicate well, so that we do not argue, so that we do not have fights, conflicts, needless frustration and pain and separations. The use of intuition for me is, I mean, you use it however you want to use it, but for me, the use of intuition is so that I can actually understand another person, so that we do not have conflicts and arguments, but we can have conversations and discussions which lead us both to expand our mental and emotional capacities. That's where intuition is most useful. Because ultimately, the only thing that matters is love. And that is in harmony with other people. Harmonious relations. So love, yeah, you have one-on-one love, relationship, but love in the sense of my heart is open to all beings. And I'm in harmony with all beings. And which basically is, I am not harming anybody or anything. So our commandments have to rule us, or give us a guideline of rules, such that everything, it's another thing I thought of this morning or yesterday morning, I haven't written it out yet, I just put it in the recorder, that my life is such that I observe every action, which is not only what I do, but what I say, what I think, such that no thought, word, or action disturbs or creates a problem for another human being, even for 1 second in their life. And so when you drive a car, are you driving that car in such a way that you are not obstructing another person? You are not holding them back if they want to go quicker? That you are not taking up 2 lanes and holding people back? That you are not unconsciously driving, causing an accident? That you are not driving in a manner which upsets another person by cutting them off negligently? That you do not eat a lot of garlic and then go and talk to people that your breath is bad enough to make them nauseous? Okay? So you see, this is a truly selfless person. I love eating raw onions. Yeah, but you're a manager and you're talking to customers and employees all day right in their face. So I'm sorry, you don't eat raw onions anymore because that is harming other people. Okay? So what we have to do is observe every action and put others before ourselves and be sure that nothing we do obstructs, disturbs, or harms another person in any way. That comes before doing things which will help other people. Okay? So priority is do not harm. Following that, we then say, how can I help? The reason I have to put those 2 in that order are because if I disregard non-harming in place of saying, I am helping, it allows for my ego to become self-centered. Because I can say, it's all right, I can do these bad things because I do so much good. And then that turns your good actions into excuses to allow you to be negligent and self-centered, which means that you as an individual are not perfecting your being. You're not developing and evolving. Okay? So that's why our primary objective is non-harming. But non-harming in that sense. Never do anything, or be cautious and aware of everything you do, say that you are not disturbing another being in any way. Okay? So why is this more important than enlightenment? Because people who follow the concept of enlightenment use spirituality as an excuse to be self-centered, selfish, negligent, and sometimes nasty. All right? I've had many people cheat me out of money, either try or succeed in cheating me out of money, because they were spiritual. And they believed that they could do what they did because they're spiritual or religious. My conscience is clear in the eyes of God. With what you just did? Yes, because I'm religious and I believe in God and I have perfect faith and devotion to Jesus Christ. Yeah, but what you did was just flat out evil. Yeah, but that's okay. My conscience is clear in the eyes of Christ. Okay, so you see, it goes the same with New Agey, spiritual, so-called Buddhists, so-called meditators. That's a danger, okay? And that's the problem with enlightenment. To whatever degree people pursue so-called enlightenment, it allows them the latitude for their ego to accept and ignore their evil actions, or just negligent or selfish or whatever it is. And in so doing, the problem with negative actions is that it creates guilt, because there is a capacity within you that knows better. And when you do something wrong, that creates guilt. Guilt creates disturbance. Disturbance interferes with the capacity of intuition. And so therefore, the pursuit of enlightenment in today's world, the so-called pursuit of enlightenment, often becomes the actual prevention of enlightenment, because it allows them to be selfish, self-centered, and so on, because they believe they're being spiritual or religious. And so the hypocrisy in that keeps a person stuck. Because if you want to find a group of angry, temperamental people, go to an ashram. Go to a modern westernized monastery, even if it is Zen or any of these things. I have never seen a collection of temperamental, self-centered people better than in an ashram or some of these Zen centers in America. It's amazing. Because they're all there doing their meditations, sitting still for 10 hours a day, but they're not doing anything to alter their personality. They're just meditating, or they're praying. This is not changing who you are. And this is why after a life, 40-odd years or something, or more than that, of studying spiritual things, of being a monk, of living in monasteries and traveling all around the world to different ashrams and schools and teachers, and this is what I've discovered quite consistently. And so that's why my religion is simply be a better person. And so that's what I'm trying to tell you, is that you can meditate. I met a couple, they were quite old at the time, a famous couple actually, he's a movie star, and American. And they'd been, so this was in, when was I there? About 1995. And they'd been meditating 2 hours a day since 1957. Okay? He's a movie star, very wealthy. So they have their meditation caves and they have their whole meditation stuff, and they can afford this luxury of meditating 2 hours a day. Now this fellow was a minister for Yogananda. Okay? So not just meditators, but like leaders and so on. And you know what? These two, the both of them, so they're quite old, right? So this is like 40 years of 2 hours a day meditation. They were such emotional messes. The wife, like this, make her break into tears about some irrelevant thing. The husband could never make a decision for himself about anything. It's incredible. Okay? Meditation doesn't do anything for you when all you do is sit and do your meditations. Because it's like putting a blanket on top of a mud hole. So if you have, like a mud hole, and you put a blanket on top of it or a nice carpet, looks beautiful. You don't know there's a mud hole there, right? Looks great. But then as soon as you step on it, you still sink. So if all you do are meditations, this is putting a blanket over a mud hole. And that's why I say, being a good person versus the pursuit of enlightenment is something very different. Simply because in today's world, there are no sincere teachers. There's no depth in the teachings. Everything has been watered down so people will accept it and be happy and be followers. Right? And that's where we are right now. In fact, one teacher I met, a Sufi in Istanbul, he's passed away now. But the only one I met, is pretty close, that I felt really had it. He actually had achieved something. And he said, the world is changing now. He said, I'm the last one. The ones after me, they'll know the law, but they don't have wisdom. And this is just the way the world is going. So anyway, all of this aside, the point of it is that to be pursuing a path of being a good person is a far more effective than pursuing a path of enlightenment. Because we just cannot do that in our world. The way the world is, it just is not conducive to being a monk, to being a Buddha, in this same sort of path. Okay? So is that now clear? The two things?
That's great.
Elimination of negatives, creating a positive. The positive is simply harm no one and activate through the practices intuition and the capacity to know better, so that in the last slide of the model in the All is Mind course, the decision. Will your decision be appropriate to the moment and take you forward? Now, sometimes you move forward by doing something that appears setting you backwards in a conventional sense, because it allows you to break free of a self-centered attitude. Okay? So that's what we want, to know what's right in every moment.
David, I'm tempted to ask, how do we facilitate change then? I'm also concerned you'll just say, well, it's everything I've been telling you. But you know what I mean? So we think meditation will help me to calm my mind and be more focused and improve, but you're saying that's not the way to become a better person. I guess I'm struggling with an extreme desire to change, and for years as well. And it's just like what we talked about last time. It's just really slow coming. Some of it to the point of seemingly almost impossible. I won't say I believe 100%, but almost at times 99.9% it feels very difficult, impossible almost.
It is extremely slow and extremely difficult. Now, a vision board is the most discouraging, destructive thing you can have. Okay. This is answering your question, but this is something I thought of this morning. You have a balloon, right? You know, balloons. How long does it take you to blow up that balloon compared to popping it or opening it and letting the air out? A vision board builds you up, builds you up, builds you up, and every now and then you look and you say, I'm never going to get any of this stuff. And you go down very quickly. Okay. Now the problem with change is it's extremely slow and gradual, which is why I created the idea of the journal of changes. So that when something changes, you make a note of it. So when you feel that it's hopeless, it's so slow, nothing is happening, you can refer to your journal of changes to say that, you know what, it's true. Things happen slowly, but they did change. So that gives you encouragement to continue when you feel that nothing is happening. So you have to accept that it does take a long time. It is very slow and gradual change. But you have to persist with with following the rules and doing some exercises, because, okay, you don't have to talk about it, but I know your financial condition has made some significant changes, up and down and so on, right? So there is some changes, but because you lose faith, it didn't change much past a certain level. But you have established the ability to go from significant debt to significant positives, right? So you are capable of making some changes, but then you revert it, and then you came back again, okay? So the thing is that change is possible if you persist. So if we go to law number 1, take full responsibility for everything, then if you say, well, I'm not changing, it's not working very well, but if you take full responsibility for that, you say, well, it's my own fault because I'm not doing the exercises persistently and consistently. So yeah, I mean, that's the whole point of the religion with its rules. Follow the rules and you'll get somewhere. And it does take a long time, right? What do I always tell people when they do the course the first time? Do the course, it takes a couple of weeks. But don't expect anything to change for 6 to 12 months. And it's only in 12 months from now that you're going to look back and say, oh yeah, the few weeks I did that course, that actually made a difference now. But don't expect it any sooner than that. All right? And you're a product of today's world, Western world, where we have 1 hour or 20-minute dry cleaning and 20-minute photo processing and all of this stuff. Everything is instant. Okay? Again, Simon and Kathy, you remember when we were kids, a TV commercial? Remember how long they would stay on one thought in a TV commercial? And now, how long do they stay on one thought? How quickly does it change image to image? And it's not a matter of technology. It's a matter of the way people are right now. We used to take 30 seconds on one thought. And now, images are flashing in fractions of a second because the attention span has changed. So you have to understand that that is a flaw within your being now due to the environment of the world, which is trying to make you so impatient and make you ADD. It's trying to make us all ADD, attention deficit, whatever disorder. It's trying to make us all such that we cannot stay focused on anything for more than a fraction of a second. And therefore, you will always fail. So you're easy to control. So you have to accept that your world is designed to make sure you don't persist with anything long enough. And you have to overcome and fight that. And then persist with things. Which is why I had the exercise of the media fast. No TV, no radio, no newspapers, no media whatsoever. Because it is through the media and the music and all these things that are giving you this ADD. Because they're making you jump, 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 jump. Right? I'll see a music video because in a store or somewhere, they play them, right? And I look at this thing in shock. I mean, people are following this? I see a pretty girl in a bikini or something and I want to look. It's fun. What a tease. Right? So all of this, I was like, wow, it's going so fast. How can I absorb anything? So you have to understand that the more you expose yourself to the media, to what's out there, the more you are becoming defective and reducing your capacity of attention span. Because that is hypnotizing you and programming you to have an extremely short attention span, so you will not stick with any exercise long enough for it to make significant change.
That's an interesting point, David. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, the thought about even just being exposed to something is enough to pull us off track potentially. Yeah, good thought.
Of course. How many now car accidents because of Pokemon? People are falling off cliffs and walking into poles and walking into fountains. Google that one. Lady walks into fountain while texting. Google it. It's absolutely hilarious. American in a shopping mall, she's texting, and in a shopping mall they have a fountain, and she's texting, and boop, 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 right in the fountain, into the pond. It's hilarious. So, the world is evil, okay? Our world is evil. It's evil, and its intention is to keep you hypnotized. Its intention is to make sure you do not wake up. Its intention is to make sure you're easy to control. So anytime you expose yourself to the things of the world, the music, the TV, everything, you are subjecting yourself willingly to say, destroy me, please. Turn my mind to mush. When you subject yourself to religions, to dinosaur attitudes, you're saying, please make me fixed, opinionated, and closed-minded. Okay? So, Chris, if you want to change, you've got to break past that. You love music. So your love is for something that is working against the principles of awakening. So you see there's a problem here, right? And now you have an answer as to the question. How come I'm not changing? Well, what's the cause? I'm not doing the exercises devotedly. What's the cause? I can't stay focused. What's the cause? I expose myself to things which are constantly making my mind such that it will not stay focused. So the cause is I am actually devoted more to things which will make sure my mind will not stay focused than I am things which will make it stay focused. See? The cause of the cause of the cause of the cause. And then we can find the ultimate cause, the core of the earth, which is the source of gravity, despite how far we are from the core. How far are we from the core? Thousands of kilometers or something, right? So we're a few thousands of kilometers away from the thing that keeps us stuck to earth, which means that we're not there yet. In other words, if the core of the earth is the source or creator of gravity, and we are stuck here on the surface of the earth, we are being drawn to something, and we're not there yet. And if we do not understand the cause, we'll never understand the condition. Which is why we always have to train our mind to be looking for the cause of the cause of the cause, so we can understand it. So if I do not want to be subject to the gravitational force of the earth, I've got to go to the moon, where there is no core. Or space, where there is no core. Right? I can't just sit here on earth and say, I want to counteract gravity. Because the cause is too strong. I'm too close to it. I have to separate myself from the cause of gravity far enough away so that it's no longer powerful. It was funny, when I left Montreal to move to, well, I was going to move to Australia, one fellow asked me, he says, is the reason you want to go there because that's as far away as you can get from here? And I, from Montreal, and I said, well, I hadn't thought of it, but it's a damn good reason. Yeah. So why are we where we are? What are we running away from? Do we need to run away? You're not going to go to the moon. You're not going to escape gravity. But what are you trying to escape? And your escapes are travel to the other side of the world, listen to music, watch videos, whatever it is. So when you say, how come I can't stay focused? The cause is I can't keep my mind. Anyway, I went through all that. Okay? So when we train our mind to look for the cause of all things, then you actually already are halfway to the solution. Because you at least know where you have to go. Right? Which is why the Sufi saying, the journey which would take you 200 years on your own, because you don't know the way, will take you 2 days with an experienced guide. Because he knows the way. Right? So if I drop you in the middle of the Sahara Desert, what are you going to do? Die. Because you don't know the way out. But if a Bedouin happens to be passing by, you'll be fine, because he knows the way through the desert. So, for lack of a guide, the exercise of the cause of the cause of the cause becomes a form of guide. Because you can train your mind to find the answers, because you are activating the capacity of intuition. You are activating the organ of perception of the subtle things in life, which will give you the answers to all problems, the solutions to all difficulties, and the ability to understand other people so you don't have arguments. And you can solve conflict.
Really nice explanation. Thank you for this.
Good.
It kind of leads into one question I had for tonight. Those things of the world that we want to look away from, sometimes they just seem so damn sweet and alluring and appealing, and it's just so easy to just sink into them and so desirable to do that. Sometimes it's really hard to resist and keep these things in mind. I've been doing the exercise of observing kind of every desire and decision, whether it's coming from the ego mind or the body mind, right? And I'm seeing that basically the ego mind is like in full control and trying to get what it wants, and what it wants isn't really useful or beneficial to me in my life. And so it's kind of disturbing to see that part of me that's controlling myself and wasting time running me into the ground. Yet I can see it, but most of the time, I guess I'm still like don't have the power to overcome it.
Yep. I mean, you're in the process and so on and all that. Okay. That's good. Okay, keep working on that. But let's try another analogy. I give you 2 plates to eat your meal. One is a plate of dog shit. The other is a bowl of rice. Which one are you going to eat?
Rice.
The one that's more appealing. What did you just say? More sweet and lovely and all of this, right? Okay. But now I'm going to say, here's the same bowl of rice and the same plate of shit and a bowl of ice cream. Now what? Ice cream. That's much sweeter and more appealing than the rice, which is better than the plate of shit. So all these things you find sweet and appealing are rice compared to shit. And I'm saying, maybe there's a bowl of ice cream. So you might not want to focus so much on the plate of rice anymore, because there's a bowl of ice cream that's waiting for you if you can actually get past eating rice.
Do you like ice cream?
So when you are thinking of all these sweet and wonderful and fun things, remember they are only that good because you're comparing them to a plate of shit. Plate of dog poop. Then anything is wonderful. But if you compare them to the bowl of ice cream, they're okay. But you know what? That's better. So this is what inspired me. Okay? What inspired me is the 3 plates of food on the table. Mind you, this is the first time I've seen this analogy, but the concept is there. That there is this and there is that. And now, this is the article, remember the article, The Curse of the Fortunate. Okay? So you're a fortunate. You're fortunate. You have an infinite amount of rice. You have a decent health, you have a decent job, you have a decent money, you have a decent home. Everything is lovely and comfy. And this is the problem. When everything is lovely and comfy, we just stay with it. Because there is no dog shit on the table, and there's no ice cream on the table.
That's right, yeah.
It's lovely. Or there might be those things, and I'm not looking. Because you know what? Rice is not so bad. And so stay there because it's comfy. So many people are single and they say, I'm happy being single because a relationship is too much trouble. It's too much hassle. Are you happy? Yeah. It's okay. I don't have any fights. I don't have any problems. I can do what I want. Are you happy? It's okay. Yeah, I'm happy. Right. Okay? So, there you go. Because it's easier to stay the same when I'm fortunate enough to have everything in adequate comfort. So what do you want? Rice or ice cream? So, me, I wanted ice cream. 3 meals a day. Actually, when I was in Sicily, as much as 4 times in one day. It is too good. And I didn't gain weight, really. It was quite amazing. So, you know, this is it. Now, I'll give you another analogy. When I was young, you know, I was poor, I had sometimes no food and so on. And I didn't want to eat noodles. I wanted to eat steak, is the analogy of poor to rich, right? And so then I got rich enough to eat steak every day. And then I decided to be a vegetarian. So the idea is that once you get the freedom, then you can choose. And then you'll be happy with rice. But not just have the rice because it's okay, but because I can have ice cream. And I choose to have rice. And that is the idea. And that's what I did with my life. From poor to rich, to business, to monk, to poor, to rich, to business, to monk. Make the whole circle. Try everything. Okay? Once you've tried everything, you can choose where you want to be. And you're happy anywhere on that circle. So right now, you're cursed with the fortunate mediocrity. And you stay there. It's comfy, it's nice, it's sweet, blah, blah, blah. Okay? So the idea is, let's experience something different, go beyond that, and then I can choose and be content with anything. Right? And that is freedom. Now you're master of the universe. Now you are, one step closer to enlightenment, closer to the potential of enlightenment. Okay? Now, with a freedom, maybe then you can actually go to a path of meditation for enlightenment. Maybe you don't want to, maybe you don't need to, but at least then it becomes a possibility because you've attained freedom. And a freedom is, what are we free from? Guilt. Free from guilt. Because then your mind can rest. But if you're living with guilt, your mind never rests. Forget it. That's why ashrams are the best place to find a whole bunch of hypersensitive, egoistic people. Because they never freed themselves from guilt before they went to think meditation, meditation, meditation. So that's why they didn't change. I mean, look at that Zen guy. I don't know, 50, 60 years, I think, meditating. He's a very famous Zen master. And then in that intro talk, he loses his temper because some people want to leave. He lost his temper. He freaked out. And I was like, this is what I get after 60 years of devoted meditation? Excuse me, I don't think that's my path. And that wasn't a Western school. This guy studies in Japan. He's the real thing. But yet can lose his temper. There's a Zen story of the guy who was meditating. He became a teacher. He was teaching. He had a lot of disciples. And one day he lost his temper. And so he left the school, left his disciples, and went back to meditate for another 12 years. Because he realized he wasn't ready yet. You see? So this is it. The idea of you're not there if you still lose your temper. And meditation isn't always the path. Seeking enlightenment, not always the path. That's why it's a path in the world. Okay. So you choose, eat ice cream or rice. You can live on rice. But after a while, plain rice gets boring.
All right, I kind of took it on a sidestep there, but we were talking about the commandments. So, Sham, did you get to share all of yours that you wanted to share?
Yeah.
Cool. I've got some if anyone else wants to share some as well.
You go, Neighbors.
Don't do anything you know will cause harm to someone else or negative emotions within yourself. Take care of all obligations before they are due. Never make anyone else wait for you. Always be on time. Keep your promises. Do everything you say you will do. Never settle. Keep improving. Always becoming a better person. And plan ahead. Do not cause any unnecessary stress on yourself or others. And that's it. I have another one which is more personal, but it's basically kind of, I'll just read it. It says, get rid of that chip on your shoulder. Be a bit more upbeat and buoyant in all situations.
Good. All right. So those work for you? Yes or no? Do those work for you? Yes. I'm leading somewhere, okay? Humor me. Do those work for you? Yes or no? Quick.
No. I mean, it's my first pass. I think they're medium. They're medium.
They're rice, so they're not answering.
No, they don't fully work for me.
Right. That's what I thought. Back to the drawing board. Find something that's going to be not a hammer, but a nuclear bomb. Something that's really going to make an impact. You know why you have to do that? Because you've been eating rice too long. So you need something a lot more powerful. Okay? When you find something that's really going to make an impact, that's going to be a good one for you. So try again.
Okay, something more forceful with a bigger change.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
David, have you finished, Chris? Yeah. Okay, so I've just got 3, and one of them is responsibilities, which is, of course, we've discussed that and comes from the first rule of your religion anyway. The other 2 are express exactly how you are really feeling. And I mean, look, I got this from also your rules to live by, but I feel like it's so crucial, that I've worded it in this particular way, because for me, it's easy for me to avoid how I'm really feeling, or say how it is not quite, or change it somehow just to soften the blow. And in the process, I hurt myself because I'm unsatisfied and I'm guilty that I haven't had the balls to really share what I actually feel about the situation. And just some notes on that, the purpose of that is to build solid relationships by having honesty and no pretense. And then, of course, the bit that I'm still learning, this can still be done kindly, although better express the truth somewhat harshly than hold it in for fear of offending. Is that...
The first thing is, when you're going to express, did you actually use the word truth?
How you refer to it? I didn't use the word truth.
No?
No.
What was the last thing you had said? The last sentence?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I did say the truth. Yeah, this can still be done kindly, although better express the truth. Okay, I should have said my opinion harshly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the first thing is you can start with remembering one sentence you said. Did I say truth? No. Yes, you did. Okay. Your imagination. Human being can't see truth. Human being can only see their imagination of what they think the truth is. So the first truth you need to see is that everything is in your imagination, your opinion. Okay. Now, in order to express what you call the truth would come from your ego, and then you have to have very good tact so that you say something in a way that is not distorted or hurtful, unnecessarily hurtful. So remember, there is no such thing as truth. There is only your opinion. And that will automatically soften the way you will communicate and express your feelings. This whole idea of there's your truth and my truth, what a stupid thing. Anybody look up the definition of the word truth? How can there be your truth and my truth? Look it up. Truth is, that's it. Cannot be two truths. And you use a word saying truth as if it's objective reality. So the first thing is to see that everything is my distorted imagination, and then see how I feel based on my distorted imagination of the situation. And then I can communicate in a more humble and softer way so that I am expressing my feeling without it being in a harmful, or at least should be less harmful way to whoever I'm talking to. Because one of the other laws is do not disturb or hurt anyone in any way. We've got to put all these laws together, right? One law has to be not contradicting another law. So you need to express yourself and your feelings and not keep them bottled up, correct. But the first thing is the cause of the cause of the cause. Why do I feel this way? Did I interpret it correctly? Did I misinterpret it? Okay? Then we have to say, am I allowing myself to do because, well, that's the right thing to do, so therefore am I being a dinosaur, following outdated ways of being?
What does it mean? Am I allowing myself to do because that is the way to do it?
In other words, you go along with things because that's the right thing to do.
Oh, right. Okay, yeah, and not thinking for myself, and therefore, after the fact, I think I feel guilty or repressed because I only too late to click on to what I did.
All right. You yell at somebody because it's bothering you what they said. Why? Because it finally clicked on me that what you told me yesterday, I just allowed myself to do without thinking about it. And then what happened yesterday? Well, I allowed myself to do it because that's the right thing to do. And I do the right thing to do because that's the dinosaur's opinion. So you see, the cause of the cause of the cause tells me why I'm yelling at you today. So that's why I have to examine everything at the moment, find the cause of the cause of the cause. So before I yell at you, I do this exercise to see what went wrong. Now I can talk to you peacefully and tell you, you know, I had to think. And I think I thought the wrong thing. And now this is what I think. You see? So in saying it's not my truth, it's my distorted imagination, and using the law of the examination of the cause of the cause, I can now communicate with better tact, more peacefully, and not cause harm to another human being. Okay?
Yeah, quite humbling. I'll use that phrase from now on.
The human mind is a very complicated machine with a lot of moving parts. And we have to get all these parts to work in harmony. It's possible. It's difficult, takes a lot of hard work, but it certainly requires not spending a lot of time eating rice. It requires a lot of fasting. Even when you can afford to eat steak, it requires fasting. What are we fasting? A lot of things. Or fasting from.
I like that phrase. I like the phrase. And in my distorted imagination, I think this. I think I'll remember that.
I know someone will remember that. So.
Yeah. Everything is your distorted imagination. And as soon as you say this thing, my truth, that's it. You might as well shoot yourself in the head. Not just a foot. You know, shoot myself in the foot. No, forget it. Shoot yourself in the head. If you actually believe that you can have a truth, or anything in a truth, forget it. Game over. And the thing is, you can shoot yourself. You know why I say you shoot yourself in the head? Because the bullet is going to bounce off because your head is thicker than a rock. It won't hurt. You won't even feel it. And that's why I told Chris, nuclear bomb, not just a hammer to drive in the nail. Because you believe in your truth. Right?
Cool, I think I'm ready for the next one. Sorry.
Okay. What's the next one?
Accept another person exactly as they are, unless they are not accepting you. Then refuse to give in and give way to their selfish desires. So I guess in a way that's like, if I could just elaborate, it's a little bit like not being used, not being trodden on. Perhaps it's similar to the first one. Like if you feel there's been some imbalance in your distorted imagination, then don't accept that. But accept the person. That person's still a beautiful human being. That person you can, okay, let me not even say that much, but they're a human being. Enough said, respect them for that. But everything else can be adjusted, negotiated.
They could be a dog or an ant.
Right.
Doesn't matter. You still don't step on an ant just because it's an ant. You know? So I don't care if they're a human being or a bug. You have to respect their life, their right to live, unless they're trying to attack you.
Mm.
But you just said, accept them as they are, unless they're, what was it, trying to control you or make you do something, right?
Accepting me.
Unless they're not accepting you. Why should you not accept somebody just because they don't accept you as you are?
Okay, so in the case of, let's say, my mother, for example, if she's not accepting me as I am, I don't want to participate. I don't want to engage with her. So so I still accept her as my mother, but I don't. That's the end of it.
Look, I accept a rattlesnake as a rattlesnake, and I don't try to kill it. I just don't want to pet it. I don't want to cuddle it. And it wants to kill me. If I try to cuddle it anyway. So, you just said, accept them unless they don't accept you. Now, I accept the rattlesnake. It's not going to accept me trying to cuddle it. But that doesn't mean I'm going to reject it because it doesn't want me to cuddle it. I still accept it, regardless of its opinion of me. Because if I say, I'll accept you as long as you accept me, and if you do not accept me, I do not accept you, I'm also saying, you're an immature child, and I'm going to be an immature child as well. So I would change that to say, I accept everybody and everything as it is, regardless of if they accept me or not. But I do not have to conform to what they want. But I do not have to look down on them just because they're a human being, and a human being, as we all know, is nothing but a dirty piece of crap, a broken machine, a useless idiot in general, with all its flaws and shortcomings. And 99.9999999% of human beings have no idea that they're broken and no intention or desire to become better. And that is their privilege. And I accept them as they are and grant them the same freedom to be what they want to be, just as I will take the freedom to be what I want to be. So I disagree with what you've written, in that you would reject someone just because they reject you. That is childish and immature and just like they are. So therefore you would stay the same. Yeah. We accept them, and then if they don't accept us, walk away. Say, okay, bye-bye. Have a nice day. I'm going to be silly. You don't like it? Piss off.
Yeah, I think that's what I... Thank you for the correction. There's the whole thing about not conforming. That's the bit I went wrong on understanding how to understand that.
Yeah. Yeah. You be you, let them be them. If you reject them because they reject you, then you're exactly the same as them, eating rice. I like that. We can use that, eating rice, quite often now. Okay. Okay?
Thank you. Great. Yeah. Oh, here's one. This may relate to something you said about, this may not apply to every human being on earth. So I'm wondering if this is a good one. Take full responsibility, as you know. You choose your job, money, partner, emotional, mental state of mind. If you don't like it, change it. But that, I think I recall you saying one point, that's the privilege of, perhaps not the privilege of everybody, because of the circumstances of the extremely poor, for example. They're not going to find those opportunities to change a whole bunch of things. So maybe that's not a universal one, or a misleading...
Excuse me, are you writing a religion to change the world or to change your own life?
You've answered my question, thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay? You can do it, it's good. This is your religion. Your commandments for you.
Great, thank you.
Right? And that's another problem humans do. They always say, yeah, but what about them? What about somebody dying of cancer? What about the poverty in India or Africa? What about the beggar there? So that? You're not that. Deal with you. Don't deal with others. You fix you, then you go fix others. Right? Remember, the surgeon, who do you want to operate on your heart? Someone who's a trained surgeon or someone who's a car mechanic? Yeah. Okay? So you want to be a decent human being? Go be a decent human being first. Let everyone else deal with themselves.
Thank you. Very, very good.
Yeah. Okay? All right. What's next?
That's all from me.
Okay?
I think in my commandments, I think I only had 3 or maybe 4. And one of them was to have, once number 1 was satisfied, that is that I was taking responsibility for myself, then I could do number 3, which was
Have goals and interests in issues or people greater or outside of those interests of my own,
yes,
and be active in them.
yeah.
Okay. Why should you have goals and interests of other people? Why?
Not necessarily other people personally, although sometimes it might be personally. I think it's just a good. I feel myself that I get something. I get benefit out of not just thinking of me all the time. It's just so friggin' boring, for one thing, and it's kind of it's quite self-centered. Whereas if I think of somebody else's needs who is in a less fortunate situation than I am, then it gives me some purpose, and it feels like it has value.
Why?
Because I'm putting something into the world to make it better.
Create something of beauty every day. You remember that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So you know, sometimes I feel like that in itself is a way of becoming better, instead of just looking at all these funny little things that make up me. Doing something out there kind of is a way of progression that isn't involved in just these looking at all these little funny little things that I do wrong, or you know, that I don't do so well. It kind of takes it away from that, and into a bigger arena, I suppose, where there's more space and I become very small or insignificant, or not the most important thing. Does that make sense?
In the sense of being a Donald Trump, most important thing, that's obviously a bad thing, right? But in the sense of sweeping the dust under the rug, so you don't see it, but it's still there, well, then it's a bad thing. So you're correct that doing for others is a good thing, makes you feel good. But why does it make you feel good is the question. Does it make you feel good because you have actually done something and are taking joy in seeing somebody else's life better? Or does it make you feel good because it's an aspirin that makes the headache stop hurting for a period of time? And that's really the self-exploration that you have to do to know that, is this actually a good thing or not? Because you know what, too much aspirin is going to kill your kidneys and liver.
Right. Yeah,
So
that I did put a caveat on it, and that is that the things that I'm doing for others are not at the expense of myself.
Right.
And my own, they're not going to cost me more than what I can afford to do. So it's more
You
about
see,
balance,
that's
maybe.
I saw, but that's still on the surface, on the material side. That isn't actually at the level of, am I doing charity? Like one friend of mine, she started doing all sorts of charities. So she called me up. She's so happy. She's involved on the board of this charity and the board of that charity, and she's doing this and that and this and that. And I said to her, that's great. Is your marriage really that bad? And she just said, you always cut right to the real truth, don't you?
Yeah.
So she was doing all these charities so that she never had to go home at night after work.
Yeah.
Because she didn't want to face her husband.
Yeah.
So that's the same thing, Kathy. Are you doing the good things to avoid looking at yourself, or are you doing them really because that's the right thing to do? Because sometimes the right thing to do is the wrong thing to do in relation to the ultimate goal. So it depends on how satisfied you are with yourself. I'm not saying either way what it is. I'm just saying that what you have written, what you have said, you need to consider, am I doing this as an aspirin to help me stop feeling whatever problems I feel about myself or my life? In my case, I'm a very sad person. Why am I sad? Because I'm not teaching enough. I only talk to you guys once a week. So I'm sad because I'm not doing what I'm really good at enough. I'm not useful enough. So I'm sad because I'm not getting that food. Okay? So now what am I going to do about it? Well, I'm going to look for where can I be more useful. All right? So I'm going to go to Bhutan and then to India because there's a particular charity that I think could conform to things I can be useful for. So why am I going to go and work with this charity? Because it's the right thing to do? No. Because I'm going to help people? No. I'm going to go there because if I can be useful more of the time, I will satisfy my need, my hunger. So it's a totally selfish thing to do because I have to for me to feel better. Okay? So this analogy, story, is something you have to consider when you're doing good things for other people. Why am I really doing it? All right? Am I doing it just to take an aspirin so I don't have to feel the pain and don't think? Or am I actually doing it because this is serving my need for myself? It's never objective. It is impossible for a human being to be totally selfless. Because every selfless act is ultimately selfish, because as I said in my little story analogy right now, I am going to be good to other people to alleviate my sadness, which comes from not being useful. So I'm not doing a damn good thing for anyone else. I'm only doing it for my own sake. Right? And that is where you have freedom, when you see the cause of the cause of the cause of the cause.
But if you have a contribution to make, then it's also important that it's made as well. So,
but why is it important?
I think it is because it's like natural, a natural force of life, like rain
So is
or
farting.
sun or
So is farting.
yeah. So I don't know. I just think that it's maybe it is also more than just satisfying yourself. It could be because you have those things, so therefore it's a responsibility, or it's it's part of the energy of life to then give them out.
I know all of that is true and makes you feel I am great. I am part of the universe. I am wonderful. Okay? But all of that encourages the maintenance of this self-centered ego, which needs to feel through doing something that I'm worthy, which means you are deficient in self-respect. You are deficient in being content with yourself because in your way of seeing it, I need to do something greater than myself so I feel worthy. But in my view, what you've just said, all of these things that I do and good things are farting. Yes, I do good things, but it's for my own relief of the pain of gas in my stomach or wherever it is. I'm not doing it so I can say, oh, I'm part of this greater, bigger thing. I'm doing it because it's natural, right? Think of a fart. It's natural. You eat, you digest, there's gases, let it out. There's no good, there's no bad, there's no improper or correct. It's just natural. So when I remove these concepts, or when I am content enough with myself, when I am emotionally free, and I'm a free person, I don't need to see it as being part of the universe and all of this stuff, because I am totally natural. That is where you will find contentment and access creativity, intuition, and so on. Okay? So this is the difference in what we're saying, is that you're still putting it as a substitute for your own self-esteem.
How do you know?
How do you know?
How do you know that I'm substituting my own self-esteem for it, and that I'm not doing it as a, as part of the universe?
I see it in the things you're saying. Look at what people say and be the detective. Remember we talked about being a detective. And look for the subtle words and the subtle hints in every thought, in everything a person says. What are they doing? When you say it's part of the bigger picture, part of the universe, that is saying that I feel part of this grand thing, therefore I'm grand. As opposed to, I'm just doing it because it's farting, it needs to be done. Yeah. So you can see in the way you describe things that they are a feeling of, or a way of feeling, I am worthy, I am big, I'm part of something good. Whereas they're unnecessary words to say. In other words, I'm walking down the path and I am about to put my foot down and I put my foot on the side because there was an ant there. Do I need to say that? No. Do I need to tell anyone? No. I just do it because that's the right thing to do, and the next step just keeps going. In other words, to do something truly selflessly does not require any sort of credit or association or explanation or grandeur towards it. It just becomes as natural as changing that one step and then keep going.
Yeah. But that's why I do it, because it is natural.
Yeah, but then there's no definition of good or bad either. That's part of it. To do good and call it good is separating good from bad.
Right.
But to do good and call it I just do that is a difference.
In point one, I've said about, putting more love into the universe and recognizing, when... I don't remember what I said, but it was more part of that.
Take responsibility for myself and for my own needs, including my health and well-being. Set aside some time and resources for giving to others, including family and friends, but not more than I can afford.
Right.
Okay, anyway, we can go on and on and on, but basically I'm just saying, through this little discussion, that we need to watch what we say, what we think, and what we believe, and observe, again, the cause of the cause of the cause, and look for, is this an aspirin to alleviate a headache?
Yeah.
And the headache for all human beings is low self-esteem. Okay? You want a plague? Low self-esteem. There's your plague. Okay? That is a major plague in the world. Low self-esteem, inadequacy, hopelessness, I'm not good enough. This is the plague, and you have that plague. You, not you, Kathy, but everybody, all human beings. So examine all your good deeds in the cause of the cause of the cause until you find that, you know what, this isn't a good deed, because a good deed is like they say, the guy that donates $1 million with a check with his name and address on it is not nearly as good as the guy who anonymously drops $1,000 in cash in an envelope.
It's true.
Right? So
But look
this is how we have to examine things.
But look at it this way, though. If, okay, I have a plague of low self-esteem, so I go and help somebody. Surely that's better than, you know, somebody with low self-esteem going and getting drunk, or somebody with low self-esteem spending all their money on clothing.
Correct. But these, again, are examples that are not relevant to your life. The commandments you write have to be relevant to you. All right? So don't give examples about getting drunk because you don't get drunk. So the thing is that somebody who wants to do good, look at Americans. They run around the world doing good. There was the story of this little village in some, I don't know, desert place where the women, it's a Muslim place, and the women are only allowed out when they're serving chores for the house, and they have to walk 2 kilometers to the well to carry buckets of water back to the village. And some American got the brilliant idea of pumping the water to the village so the women don't have to endure this terrible suffering of carrying the buckets of water. And the end result was the women were never allowed to leave their house anymore. So they lost their social time because they didn't have to go get the water anymore. So when you say do something good better than getting drunk, you know what? It might be better to sit home and get drunk than to do what you think is good because you may actually be causing harm.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm saying, look for, am I taking an aspirin and am I just trying to alleviate my suffering and avoid it by playing music all night so I can drift off to sleep and eat rice, or doing charities so I don't have to look at my own feelings about myself and eat rice. Instead of that, look for what really drives me. What am I really? The truth of me, and work on that. And that is the most effective thing. Because if you want to bring more love into your life, you do a much better job if you become a Buddha than if you just stay as Kathy doing a little charity, right? So that's why we say, this is the path. Yeah.
Yeah, it reminds me of interesting. I always talk about in palliative care. I joke and I talk about terminal niceness because we and again I remember reading an article about how people working in the healthcare sector, you know, again their reasons for doing so, and you know, chaplains and so on. And it really made me think about, again, you know, the reason, the cause for the cause of a cause. Is it just to, you know, alleviate our, you know, our suffering of low self-esteem or whatever, to make us feel better by caring, you know, caring for people? So is it for a, self-motivation? I mean, self reasons rather than a desire to help people. It was really, really, really interesting. And there is, and you know, I've worked in hospices, and there is what I call, I guess, you know, this terminal niceness where,
This is actually the story relevant to Kathy, what she's saying. My cousin's a doctor in Montreal, and in Quebec it's government, so you go where the government puts you. Now, Quebec is a very large province, and we have Eskimos. In the north of Quebec, it does go up far north. They're real Eskimos. And my cousin and his wife, that's how they met, because they both did the same thing. Instead of having their cushy job in the city, they spend 6 months working up with the Eskimos. So they live up north, and they help the Eskimos. So they are doing something, helping others that not many other people want to help. Okay? But the reason they do that is they said, Charlie explained it to me, he said, in the city, I have my clinic, people come in, I may never see them again. I don't know what's happening with them. So there's no joy in being a doctor in the city. He said, but when I go up to the Eskimos, I live with this village for 6 months, and I see the people that I heal. I see the kids that I help getting off alcohol addictions or drug addictions, and I feel satisfied. I feel that I am doing something with my life, right? So you see, he is seeing that I am going to be a doctor, and I need the self-satisfaction of seeing the people I change, and That is the reason he is going to help the Eskimos. He is not going to help them because, oh, those poor Eskimos need a doctor. So you see, this is the thing. Charlie is the most, I mean, this guy is like, if you want a perfect person, this is my cousin, Charlie. He's actually my cousin's cousin, second cousin or something. But at any rate, and his wife, same. Amazing human beings. You've never seen people this kind, gentle, sweet, sincere. Absolutely, you look and you say, this is an angel, a God. And why? They know the truth. They are helping others because it satisfies their personal need to gain a sense of satisfaction. And so this is how you get that balance. You know the truth. I'm doing it for me. And I have found a way to do something good for others that satisfies my needs for me. Okay? That is the life that you will be perfecting your being with. So, again, truth or lie? Find the truth. Okay? It's not just to take a pill. It's not just because you can work 6 months and make enough money for 12 because they pay much better up there. Okay? So that fits, yeah. Terminal niceness or sincerity. The best one is the sincere one. Yeah.
I don't do it enough for terminal niceness.
Okay, what's next?
You're quiet tonight, Simon.
Yeah. I'm doing a lot of listening. I spent a couple of hours on this exercise on and off and didn't come up with anything. And that's kind of all I've got to say, really.
Really nothing?
Yeah, I was thinking a couple of hours and you came up.
Yeah, not solidly, but I mean, I was sitting down and doodling in the evening, so work in Melbourne, as most people know here, and something to do in the evenings. And I jotted down, and my mind wouldn't settle on anything. And I didn't get the point as well as you guys have got the point as well, so I'm glad I didn't get anything, because I would have been quite embarrassed compared to what you guys have come up with. But I did think a lot about the difference between commandments which are forbidding you for doing things, thou shalt not kill, and some of the commandments we've been hearing tonight, which I've also heard you talk about, put your trousers on your right leg at a time. So understand the difference between things which are kind of guidelines for living your life, like in the Hadith, for example, and commandments which are things that you, doesn't matter what you do as long as you don't do these things. And I'm just kind of pondering about which is the stronger message or most useful to me. And I don't feel very motivated by people telling me what not to do. I feel motivated by people giving me suggestions of what to do. So I kind of went through that thought process. None of it was worth writing down.
So you did come up with many things. You just didn't feel worth writing down.
That's correct, but I didn't write them down as a list. They were more general thoughts and thinking about, I never thought about this stuff before. I never thought about why the Ten Commandments were all in the negative until we did this exercise.
So then it was success because we got you thinking.
Yeah. I'm not sure that's success. Kind of like a first millimetre along the path, maybe, but yeah, you got me thinking.
That's it. One step. The journey of 10,000 miles begins with the first step, right? You've heard that saying?
I don't actually agree with what you're saying because you're being too kind. I mean, I just didn't come up with anything is the answer. You've been quite horrible to Kathy. I don't want to hear this.
Like, as long as you're thinking, what I want to do is get people thinking. So thinking is good. You don't have to write anything down. I do too much thinking and I don't write it all down either. So there's nothing wrong. As long as you are thinking, then it's a success. You keep thinking, and it's more random thoughts. You know, all my thoughts, everything I write, you know, the little thoughts and things, just random thought pops into my head. And that's it. Now, if you never think, random thoughts will never come into your head. But if you start thinking, one day, random thoughts come into your head. So that's why, as long as we've got you thinking, then the wheels are turning There is motion. You never know what's going to come and when. So, is a success.
Right.
One of the random thoughts that came into my head was that there's a weapons festival coming to Auckland Harbour.
Excuse me, weapons?
Weapons festival, yes. It's the New Zealand Navy is celebrating its 75th birthday by inviting 30 warships to come to this harbour. And I'm going to be involved in the protest against it because a random thought came into my head that even if they're not nuclear weapons, it's still a really terrible use of our taxpayers' money to buy these expensive weapons because they're still designed for killing people, and a lot of people are coming to New Zealand at that time to sell their expensive weapons like Lockheed Martin and...
Okay, yeah. Well, they're not designed to kill people. They're designed to defend us against the people who want to kill us.
Well, I just don't like the logic. Yeah. So,
okay, my point is, Kathy, logic is a matter of opinion.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyway, I'm going to be on the flotilla.
Good for you. I don't protest anything. I found protesting usually gets one into a lot of trouble and killed. But anyway, yeah.
Sorry.
Okay. Well, there you go. You've got a purpose. Okay. What's next? Hmm? Yeah. So, what are we doing here? Okay.
Because there's a lot of homeless people and a lot of schools that don't have finance and a lot of, social services in New Zealand that are being, scrimped and cut back, including the ADHD.
What is that?
That's the hospital system. ADHB, the
government healthcare.
Yeah.
So you if you're sick, you go and it's free.
Yeah.
It's paid by this.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's lots of cuts. Like I haven't had. I worked for them temping, and I haven't had work for 3 weeks. And there's like a lot of cutbacks. So it's sort of highlighted the fact that we're spending billions on military, and we don't have any real enemies in the Pacific. And in any case, one of the frigates that we've got is quite...
Okay, if you don't mind, this is a topic that's totally irrelevant to our work, all right? The world is the world. Yeah. We're not going to change it. I know, I tried. I succeeded. And it's still going to be the same, all right?
Yeah.
Forget the world, Kathy. Just live your life. You're not going to change it. It's not going to change. They're going to do everything they want to do. They're going to blow each other up. They're going to shoot each other. But you know what? The military is the best thing for the economy. It makes so many jobs. It keeps things going. It's a lot more complicated than you realize, right? If it gives you pleasure to protest, have fun. But that's not something we need to discuss. We don't, yeah.
Okay, fine.
All right. Let's keep on our topic. Individuals. You're writing the code of conduct. Well, that's a good word, isn't it? Code of conduct. Is this good? Okay, our code of conduct for your life. What it means to be a good person. All right? The first is do no harm. And this, of course, came up while driving, while people are driving so slowly, and 2 lanes, and I want to go. And they're holding me back. And I'm thinking, you know what? It's just rude. Don't be rude. Don't hold anyone back. Now, this is a beautiful concept because it is again something which you can do 24 hours a day. Almost. Okay? Or a lot of the time. This is one of the things that makes a rule for the code of conduct a good rule. It can be done all the time, at any time, and does not take any time or effort. So in other words, while I am driving, I can pay attention to my driving in such a way that I'm not holding anyone back. If I want to drive slowly and there is someone behind me, I should notice that and pull over, let them pass. Okay? So things like this, look for ideas of how you can make yourself more aware and present in ways that are not requiring you to sit and meditate for 2 hours a day. All right? Because if you want to become enlightened, they say meditate 20 hours a day. I don't have 20 hours a day. But I'm telling you, you can be meditating 20 hours a day through these awarenesses, through these conditions. And if you do apply yourself at every moment, you will find significant changes, but it could take a lot of time. You know, if you can explain to the teething baby, it's going to take 6 months or a year or 2 years, however long babies take to grow teeth, and then the pain will be over, it might help. Okay? So you have to know that it's going to take some time of practicing awareness with these rules, and then it'll show in a couple of years maybe. All right? But anyway, that's why it's better than meditation or enlightenment. So, but the other thing is a very good practice. I guess the younger ones are harder for them to do that, but to see what's the differences in the world from now and 30 years ago. What's different in the world in the way it works, like the freedom of travel, the dissemination of information, the equality or more balance between men and women in the workforce. So if we say, what a wonderful thing, look how great the balance is now with women can work in corporate jobs. Wonderful thing, right? No, it's a terrible thing. It's a horrible thing. Look at women now. They become cold-hearted and tough like men. Look at a corporate woman. I want a woman who's intelligent. So, okay, look. Oh, she's got a good corporate job. Nice, she's being intelligent. Go to talk to her. She's like hard as nails. So stressed, you know? So, is it good or is it bad? Okay, this is the kind of thing we look at. So we do the exercise, compare the world today to what it was 30 years, 40 years, 50 years ago, and then we see the results, all the differences. We don't say now it's wonderful, women can have corporate jobs and be prime ministers and they have equal rights. Yes, and what else has changed that is in connection to that? All right, so whatever it is. Smartphones, wonderful. The internet is with me everywhere and I'm so good. It gives me so much freedom. What else has changed? Well, now I work 28 hours a day because I never have time off because I got my phone with me all the time. Okay? So do that as your exercise for this week. Look back. Try to find as many things that are significant changes in our world from now, from 30 years ago, before the advent of cell phones. Never mind computers, because that kind of came about the same time. Cell phones, computers, internet, all came about the same time. What was the world like before that? What was our living conditions before that? What were male-female relationships like that before that? What was the family unit like when women were not part of the workforce? Do you notice that we still survived without the two incomes? Because now women go to work. But you know what? Couples are so busy because both of them are at work earning enough money to support the household. How come we didn't need that before when women weren't working so much? You see? This is, again, think, all right? Look at the changes, but look at all of the changes and find that with one change, what other things changed that may be connected, right? So that we get to see things more objectively. We want to see things more objectively. So women are now more in the workforce and all of this, women's live in that. But look how hard it is to get a relationship. How come there are so many more single people? Why are people more separated now with all of these wonderful social media things supposedly bringing us together? Right? So I want you to look and see all of the repercussions. Now, why this is useful and important is the more you look at the world objectively, see the changes, see the repercussions, it will subconsciously start to affect your mind to realize that all of your actions create repercussions. And this is a thought that needs to be really absorbed, is that all my actions create repercussions. So I really need to be careful about my actions. Because if you think that I can do whatever I want, it doesn't affect anyone, this allows for ego to grow, and it allows for being shut down. It allows permission to be nasty and rude and disrespectful. And with that, it grows guilt. And again, guilt causes disturbance, and this kind of disturbance causes low self-esteem. Low self-esteem means I need to do things to make myself feel better, which is eat rice, play music, do charities just for the sake of feeling good. Okay? So that's why all of these things are connected in I really need to make that sink in deeply into my being, the repercussions of every step I take. You know the butterfly effect? Butterfly flaps his wings on one side of the earth, it causes a typhoon on the other. Right? You're that butterfly. And until you really, 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 really make that deep in your mind, in your heart, then you will have to be shut down and not see. You'll have to be in that sleep state. Okay? So happiness comes when you're awake and present, because you see the objectivity of everything. And when I see everything objective, I don't need to be guilty. If I'm not guilty, my mind rests. So the exercise of seeing how the world has changed and the repercussions, then you'll see your life and the repercussions, and you will start to feel terribly guilty and miserable and like a horrible person for a little while, and then you overcome that, and then you'll start to feel better about yourself because you pay more attention to your actions. Okay? Does it make sense? I hope. Something to think about.
Can I ask a question about guilt? Have we got time? How are we doing for time?
Yeah, a little bit more. Yeah.
Something I've been thinking about while we've been talking about guilt, and I think somebody else mentioned it as well. There's a lot of guilt, I'll rephrase that, a lot of the guilt that I feel, which is not a lot of guilt at all actually, a lot of the guilt I feel comes from my family, and I'm not blaming them, but they don't understand my lifestyle, and that sounds corny, so I wish I hadn't said that now. But the point is, really, I'm caught between loving my family and empathizing with the way they feel and why they feel that way, and actually not wanting to feel guilty about it. I just wondered if you got any thoughts about that.
All right. Well, why would you feel guilty? Because they're unhappy about how you live?
Yes.
But that's their problem, isn't it?
Yes, but they see that, and I don't, but they see their problem as being caused by me. I don't see it that way, but it doesn't stop the comments.
Right.
And the actions, some of which are quite, no, they're not quite, some of which are minor destructive. My daughter, who is in the UK at the moment, she gets a lot of negative comments from the family about me, and that hurts her. And that makes me angry as a father. Anything that hurts my daughter makes me angry. It's water off a duck's back, what people say about me. I don't like it when they, the backbiting, talking behind my back kind of thing, which everybody does, or most families do. So I accept all of that. But whether you call it guilt, whatever label, words are just sounds, right? But it still makes me feel bad, angry, sad, depending on what's exactly happening.
Is it more about you or about your daughter being hurt?
Probably more about my daughter.
Okay, that's what I thought. So your daughter should read the book Understanding Words. Now, you're not angry that they are hurting your daughter. You are angry that your daughter is hurt.
Probably.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, there's a difference. Because if you're angry that they are hurting your daughter, then you have to do something about them. But if you're angry that your daughter is feeling hurt, then you have to do something about her.
Good point.
Okay. So, as we've talked about, words are a knife on the table, and this is how I am immune to insults. And no matter what anyone says, doesn't bother me. So, leave your family alone, let them do what they want, but get your daughter to understand how to not get hurt by what they say.
Mm. Okay.
So that's where the real problem. So where is the cause of your problem? You're thinking it's your family, but it's not. It's your daughter. She's the one with the problem because she's accepting the insults and sticking the knife in her heart.
Mm.
So you see, the cause of the cause of the cause. We've got to find the real cause of your problem, which is her misperception of how she's accepting their attacks. So leave your family to be what they want to do. If they want to stick a knife in their heart, that's their privilege. But give your daughter this education.
Thank you.
Okay? Yeah. See? That's why we need the intuition. We need the creativity. We need the cause of the cause. So you could find out where the problem, because otherwise you're going to spend the rest of your life yelling at your family and get nowhere.
Yeah, that's right.
Right?
Good.
Okay? All right. Is that enough for tonight?
It's brilliant, David. Really so insightful.
Okay. All right, so what's the calendar? Today is the 2nd, so it means only one more week that I'm here, right?
Oh, you're here next Sunday as well?
Where are we? The 9th. I'm here on the 9th, and then I leave on the 12th.
It's the 12th. Fantastic. Cool.
So one more time I'll be here.
Great. So apart from bringing our results from the exercise you've set us, about repercussions from the times that have changed, anything that you would like to talk about next time or continue on, or we'll just discuss amongst ourselves and present to you as we did last time? Yeah.
If I have time to write up some of the my own code of ethics, then we'll talk about that, or I'll come up with something, I'm sure, over the course of the week. What about this last article I put up?
Oh, yeah.
The dinosaurs. Well, we kind of talked about that today, didn't we?
Yeah, it could surface again if we made the next talk a look at code of conduct. Actually, use that phrase. Maybe that'll reach a different people.
That's a good. How to design your own personal code of conduct. How's that? I mean, because the way we talk about whatever and whatever comes out. Okay, this is the real way of a school for personal development. It's what's the person.
Yeah.
How can we have a program with a book that says, here, this is course 1, course 2, course 3, course 4. This is rubbish. That's why every psychiatrist is more screwed up than their patients, because they follow this course structure. So this is not the way to learn. It is individual. The only reason you need these titles is to draw more people in.
Well, what's ironic is that I'm glad only we are here, because you were able to go at a much possibly deeper level of understanding for us. If there were new people here, there might be questions that might be already answered. I mean, we've already heard you several times talk about certain things. We understand certain concepts.
So you've already forgotten the rule that new people are not supposed to ask questions for the first 2 sessions?
Thank you.
What do you see in him, Shem?
This is your opportunity on live TV to explain,
To explain.
what you see. No, it's all right. Please don't say it.
Yeah, it was not a question. Yeah. Okay. All right, done?
David, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's great. Thank you so much.
Okay. See you next week.
Great.
Thank you.
See you
Thank
next
you.
week. Thank you. Cool.
Cheers.
Bye.